What's up, everybody, and welcome to From the Top Rope. I am your host, Gerge Brooms, and welcome to episode number 37, where we're going to talk the week in wrestling. I think the last time we talked, I was doing my interview with Lucha Licore prior to Combat Sports Pro Tropic Combat, which happened last weekend. And man, what an out-of-control show that was. It was Lucha's retirement show from In-Ring Performance, and he will be joining me from now on as co-general managers of Combat Sports Pro, and I am super excited about the future. We are doing some exciting things here in Fort Walton Beach. If you're in the Fort Walton Beach area, I look forward to seeing you. Come see me, come see Lucha at our next shows. Before we jump into all that, I wanted to kind of talk about, this weekend was the 4th of July. I was supposed to do a podcast yesterday, and now I'm doing one today. Yesterday, I just kind of wanted to hang out and spend time with my family. It was kind of nice. And just relax and enjoy the day without having to come record a podcast. And it was actually a really good day to catch up on some wrestling, which we'll talk about here shortly. But tune in for the end of this show, because at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about a big announcement coming from the world of From the Top Rope podcast. Some big things happening, and can't wait to share them with you guys. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. Before we jump into the show proper, though, I want to remind you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram TV. Check me out on Instagram at I Hate Gerge Brooms. You can also follow this podcast at From the Top Rope Podcast on Instagram. I post a lot of wrestling content, memes, videos, different stuff like that on my Instagram. It's really cool stuff. You can also check us out on TikTok at From the Top Rope. I post a lot on TikTok to include videos from wrestling during the week, and then also some original content about what I think is going to happen and other news items. You can also find me on YouTube at Gerge Brooms. That's where you can find this show. And I am working on a wrestling Discord, which we'll talk a little bit more about at the end of the show. And don't forget, you can also follow Combat Sports Pro Wrestling at Combat Sports Pro Wrestling on Instagram. Our next show is coming up on the 21st of August. Yes, that's right, the same damn day as SummerSlam. We're going head-to-head with SummerSlam, and I know who's going to win, Combat Sports Pro, right here in Fort Walton Beach on August 21st. More to come as we get closer to that. I do know the one match that has been announced is the Conspiracy Crate match between Juice Jennings and El Kachi for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Combat Sports Pro Junior Heavyweight Championship. Bro, their feud has been out of control. You should check out my Instagram where I posted a video of Juice attacking El Cache during the Triple Threat Tag Team TLC match from last week. And what an asshole, you know what I'm saying? But damn, what the hype level for this match is off the chain. I can't wait. We'll talk more about that as we get closer. Don't forget, we're also sponsored by Bath AF. That is Bath AF, the best bath bombs in the world. You can find them on Instagram at I Love Bath AF. Guys, girls, get yourself, get your spouse, get your significant other, get your partner, whoever the hell you got. Get your brother, sister, mother, father, daughter. Get them some bath bombs. Bath bombs are amazing. Whether or not you worked out all day, or you worked all day, you've had a hard workout, whatever it is, you need to stress, you need to let your muscles relax, take a hot bath, and drop one of the bath bombs by Bath AF into your bath. I promise you, you'll never go back to showers. Maybe you will go back to showers, but damn, you'll love baths. I took one today, and it was goddamn amazing. Drop in a peppermint bath bomb by Bath AF, and it was fantastic. Check them out on Instagram, where you can go from there to their Etsy shop at I Love Bath AF. You can also follow Twin Hippo Designs at Twin Hippo Designs on Instagram. From there, you can also go to their Etsy shop, and you can find cute stationery items for your small business. They're coined the phrase "simple designs for lovers of simple things." Very cute items. If you're a small business and you're trying to enhance that relationship with your customer and make it more personal, check out Twin Hippo Designs at Twin Hippo Designs on Instagram. Follow there to their Etsy page, and get you some cute items. And a new sponsor on the show. That's right, we have a new one. Move AF, from the people who brought you Bath AF. Move AF. You can find them on Facebook. If you search them on Facebook, Move AF, you can find them. Join the group. It's a fitness motivational group, and what they're doing is some great things on motivating people for fitness and just doing small fitness challenges for anybody. If you're looking for a reason to get motivated, go to Move AF on Facebook. Check them out. That's one word, Move AF, and check them out, and you'll love it, I promise. All right, so Wrestling. A lot happened in wrestling this week, and I've got a quick podcast today, so I won't be able to talk too long. But I want to kind of share my thoughts on the news and then the week in wrestling, especially this last week, because this last week saw, for AEW at least, saw the end of what they would consider the pandemic era of wrestling. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer. And we're getting really closer to Money in the Bank and the SmackDown before Money in the Bank, where WWE will return to crowds and live audiences, and I just felt like something's happening, something's in the air, and I'm super excited about it. So here, let's run down the news. I want to talk about the news first, and just as always, I want to make sure I plug where I get my news from. My news sources are these are all Instagram handles. You can find them at WrestleBuzz. My homies over at WrestleBuzz, they have an amazing podcast, the Wrestling Journal podcast. I get a lot of news and information from them, and great insight on wrestling. At Wrestling Republic, at Wrestle_Page, at What Culture Wrestling, and at Wrestling_411. That's where I get all my wrestling content from, wrestling information from. So check them out. But so here, let's run down the news. This past week, we had the 10-year anniversary of the CM Punk pipe bomb. That went down 10 years ago this last week, and that's it. That's just all. I just really wanted to say that, because it's crazy how far we've come from that. Because I'm pretty sure you could probably drop that pipe bomb today, as if that pipe bomb never happened then, and drop it in today, and it would still feel real. Like it would still feel relatable. It's like I feel like we learned. I say we, WWE learned something after that pipe bomb, because they did make some dramatic changes. Don't forget, Daniel Bryan did win. He did win the championship at WrestleMania 30, and that was because of frustrations from the fans and the fans getting involved. Of course, they've kind of messed it up since then. Becky Lynch is a perfect example, too, of being born out of the fans. They tried to do something with her, and we said, hell no, we're going to change that. But I still feel if you were to drop that pipe bomb today, that it still feels real, which tells me that WWE hasn't changed too much in the last 10 years of hell. They may have even gotten worse. My personal opinion is that the WWE's product has become so not dependent on fans. The Saudi Arabian government gives them however much money to produce their shows. $1 billion deal with Peacock, $1 billion deals with Fox. And it was crazy. They're getting all this money from TV, and the shows just aren't. The quality isn't there, but also like the numbers aren't there too. The numbers aren't. It's crazy to me that these numbers even warrant the amount of money they get, but somehow they keep getting money. But just want to give a special shout out to the pipe bomb, which came out 10 years ago. Maybe Kevin Owens kind of had that pipe bomb ish thing, like was it last year or whatever, 2 years ago before the pandemic kicked in, where he talked shit about Shane McMahon getting TV time over other guys. And it felt like a pipe bomb, but it didn't really do much after that, right? But yeah, CM Punk, come back, save us. Just kidding. One of the things that came out of one of these podcasts, I can't remember which podcast it was, but Samoa Joe was on it. He was talking about not only is in-ring return definitely real, he is working towards that, but he's also been hired not only as an on-screen personality, but as a backstage talent scout, helping out NXT find the newest and best up-and-coming wrestlers. And I'm, you say what you will about all the releases and everything that's gone down in the last several months. I feel bad for the guys who lost their job. It's also a good thing, y'all. WWE was just hoarding talent and just not using them, and this gives an opportunity for them to free up their checkbooks a little bit, maybe bring in some new, fresher talent. Let's try to get something going through. To me, the future is bright if I look at it with my half full glass concept, if you will. But definitely glad that Samoa Joe is working towards the in-ring comeback. And it'd be really nice. We can have a whole podcast dedicated who he should take on, and Gerge Brooks' personal opinion, and that's Adam Cole. But we'll see what happens at the next takeover. I definitely feel like Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole at the next takeover is going to happen. WWE filed a trademark for Happy Corbin, whatever the hell that means. So obviously they got this sad, mopey Baron Corbin on SmackDown, and they filed a trademark for Happy Corbin. I'm genuinely fascinated to see what the hell this is. We also have Nikki Ash, Almost a Superhero, which is obviously a PG version of superhero in training from the early days of Ruthless Aggression and shit, if you will. But we have Nikki Ash, Happy Corbin, both of them trademarked recently, and it's all super corny. I don't know how to deal with it, just so y'all know. I'm intrigued. They've got my attention, whatever, but I don't know how to deal with it. It could potentially just be this corny thing that pops up. But Happy Corbin coming to a SmackDown near you. And WWE also finalized their list of the 50 all-time greatest tag teams this week. And the New Day sat upon the throne as the number one tag team of all time, according to the WWE. And I think from a WWE perspective, I think that's exactly who they would go for. The New Day are massive, revolutionary, insert whatever other words you want to put in there. But they're fantastic. And they're still here. They're still together-ish, right? They're still here, and they're still winning championships. So good on WWE for naming them the tag team. Good on the New Day. From a WWE perspective, I don't think I have a problem with that at all. I can't remember who all was in the top 5, but I think it was a lot of the Attitude Era. I think the Dudley Boys are in there. I think the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and damn, I can't remember who else was in the top 5. But definitely a good list. Definitely a good list. And congrats to the New Day for that. And the final episode of Raw in the Thunderdome will be pre-taped, and I believe it's being pre-taped with SmackDown. So I believe, actually, if I understand it correctly, I think this SmackDown will be the final Thunderdome SmackDown. So therefore, this Friday, they'll pre-tape Raw as well. And I've heard a lot of internet chatter about them potentially doing some type of way to shut down or tear apart the Thunderdome as part of saying goodbye to the Thunderdome. Kind of sort of what they did with the Performance Center when Retribution was running through it, but even though that was trash. I would like to see that, personally. I like to see the Thunderdome rip to shreds and set a new era, and let's put this old Thunderdome bullshit behind us and get back to what we love. Also, NXT this week announced they're going to have another breakout tournament. I think the last one was right before the pandemic. Cameron Grimes, who else is in there? Bronson Reed was in it as well, and from the last one. So the big names that came out of it eventually, and look forward to seeing the new tournament. I believe on 205 Live they have some qualifying matches to get into the tournament. I think I don't know who the fuck is watching 205 Live, but yeah, really excited. I love tournaments, so breakout tournaments coming, and I'm really stoked about that. And then NWA announced this week also that they're debuting a Champion Series in July, and it's going to be a points-based system. I'm really not understanding what's going on. Really fell off of NWA. I need to get back on it because I love Power and I love the show. But yeah, they're introducing a Champion Series where it will be a points-based style thing. So hopefully I get some more intel on that, and I can bring up some more info on that on the next podcast. Also, during NXT this week, Mercedes Martinez got knocked the fuck out by Xia Li. So I don't know if you watched it, but she went for her kind of what's Aleister Black's Fade to Black? Is that what it is? Is it Fade to Black? I don't know why I'm blanking on the name. His roundhouse kick, and knocked the shit out of Mercedes Martinez, and she legit hit head first on the ground. That was pretty gross to watch. And then they just kind of ended the match and moved on. But she was seen in the back, and then she was transported to an hospital to be evaluated. Now, since then, I haven't really heard anything. Hoping to get more information this week as we go. They did several replays of it on NXT, and it was fucking gruesome to watch. So, give our thoughts to Mercedes Martinez as she's getting her life together with this. Hopefully, everything's okay. Concussions can be real serious. They've taken out real big-time wrestlers, big-time performers. And she's on a roll right now, and I love her character. So let's hope she stays on. Let's hope she gets better. And Darby Allin joined the cast of Jackass 4 this week, too. I didn't even know they're making a Jackass 4, so I just found that out. So good for Darby Allin, getting that mainstream attention for AEW as well. And then more on the injuries. AEW had an injury this week, too. Rebel, not Reba. Reba, not Rebel. She dislocated her kneecap during that tag team match with Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero, and of course Britt Baker. There's some video footage that came out of her being kind of lifted by the team and carried out while the show was on commercial, I think. So speedy recovery to her too. It kind of sucks because she doesn't really wrestle. She just goes in there and fucks up her kneecap, and really her first match that I've seen her in. So hope she gets better. Hope she gets better. And AEW back on Wednesday night. Speaking of AEW, they drew 883,000 viewers this week. Congratulations to them. Back to Wednesday night, back and doing what they do. And obviously this week was their send off from Daly's Place, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a little bit. So here's another sad news, and just got nothing but sad news today. The Patriot Elks. I just knew him as a Patriot. I just learned his first name this week. He passed away at the age of 59. Obviously, he was known for his run against Bret Hart, and he did some other things. He held some tag team championships, I think in WCW. And it's always sad when a wrestler passes away, especially at such a young age of 59, man. These wrestlers got shit young lives, and I feel so bad for them, man. But rest in peace, the Patriot. Appreciate everything. And switching gears, as Michael Cole would say, we're going to Vince McMahon. He visited the Performance Center this week, and apparently it was an overall positive experience. Vince McMahon, of course, down there scouting new talent to bring up to WWE from NXT, which I've heard a lot of conversation about, and I think that's the right thing for NXT. I love NXT as his third brand when they were trying to compete against AEW, but I love NXT, being the developmental. I like them being the farm league, if you will. It gives them more freedom, and when they're not trying to compete and be anything else than what they are, which is a great product for developmental. That's what they do. These guys learn stuff down there, and then when they go up to the main roster and they get fucked. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of getting fucked, Zelina Vega returned on SmackDown this week. And what I mean about her getting fucked is that she lost in 3 minutes. But she was named to be in the Money in Bank match by Sonya Deville. So good for her for coming back. Also, kind of on top of that, everyone's kind of been talking about now that she's back. Maybe Aleister Black is coming. No, the rumor is right now that Aleister Black is not coming back as of right now. Even though it's kind of been going back and forth. Like maybe WWE released him too early, whatever it might be. But as of right now, Aleister Black is not planning to come back. And John Moxley's wife, Renee Paquette, she was talking on her podcast about Triple H calling and checking with her about John Moxley after his New Japan injury and kind of offering the hand of WWE that they'll always take care of John Moxley, just let him know whatever he needs. And same thing with her, take care of her, whatever they need. And I thought that was kind of a big deal because there's like this imaginary war that people have in their head of the competition, if you will. So it was nice to hear that. I mean, at the end of the day, these dudes are all, these girls too, they're all wrestlers, and they're all in this community together, and they all deal with things together. And sometimes they're in the same company, sometimes they're not, and it's just kind of nice to hear those little stories that come out. Second to last on the news, the Broken Skull Sessions will return on July 11th, and it looks like the next person who's going to be on the chair with Stone Cold is going to be Kevin Nash. I always like hearing Kevin Nash talk because he's definitely a shooter. The dude likes to talk, and obviously I've said it before on this podcast, I'm a big WCW mark, so I was big into the whole NWO thing. So always cool to see him, and I'm looking forward to watching that. And then finally, SmackDown announced it's returning to Madison Square Garden on July. Jesus, we're in July now. September 10th, the day before the 20th anniversary of September 11th, in Madison Square Garden. That's going to be an emotional show. Somebody pointed out online this week that if you remember correctly, SmackDown went on as planned right after 9/11, and they were one of the very first things that ever broadcasted on TV after 9/11, one of the big events, if you will. So it's kind of symbolic and appropriate for them to be back right there at the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So very cool to see back in the Garden, fans back in there. I'm super excited about that. I lied. I have one more. It fell off on my thing. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch got married this week. Congratulations, guys. I know they had like some type of ceremony planned right before the pandemic. It was during the pandemic, but obviously they had it planned before the pandemic. Pandemic ruined everything. So congratulations to them for finally being able to get married. All right. So that is it for the news. So let's talk this week in wrestling. So we're going to start off with Monday Night Raw, the shit show that is Monday Night Raw. And it wasn't that bad of a shit show this week. Trust me, they got a lot of bad shit in there, but the good was good, and I loved it. Everybody's buzzing about Ricochet jumping off the top rope, doing a crossbody out of the ring to the barricade on John Morrison. You can find the video. I posted it on my TikTok. Great shit. I like when Ricochet gets an opportunity to show everybody who the fuck he is. He's Ricochet, goddammit. He can do amazing things, and he should be at least the high mid card, just doing some great matches. I don't know about his character being world champion or universal champion or WWE champion or any of that type of bullshit. But what I can tell you is he should be on TV every time if you want ratings, because that dude puts asses in seats. And also Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle showed the hell up to work this week. He had to fill in. He filled in for, or he was going to fill in for Randy Orton. Randy Orton was mysteriously not around. I don't know what happened there. Same thing with Bobby Lashley. He wasn't on Raw this week, but it's fine. And he goes into this tournament. Riddle goes into this tournament, basically representing Randy Orton. And the Battle Royal was awesome. And he did an amazing job in the Battle Royal. I believe it was him and Damian Priest at the end. Matt Riddle wins the Battle Royal, goes on to the triple threat match against AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre, and puts on a hell of a show. He almost pinned AJ Styles and almost pulled AJ Styles out. A pissed off Matt Riddle turns around to a Claymore from Drew McIntyre, and then Drew McIntyre obviously makes it into the Money in the Bank match, but Riddle put it out. Riddle is fantastic. I felt like the in-ring action on Raw this week was phenomenal. And then we flip it to the other side of that, which was Shayna Baszler being pinned by Nikki Ash. We got to get the hell out of this. Look, I'm not going to talk shit about Nikki Ash. I don't even think I've even had a chance to talk about that character on this podcast yet, because I've had other podcasts going on. So I think it's been a couple weeks since I actually have talked to you about this wrestling, about normal, everyday wrestling. And Nikki Ash, look, I'm cool with the character. It's not my thing or whatever. I hear she loves it. But Shayna fucking Baszler can't get pinned by these dorks. You know what I'm saying? Vince McMahon, you've got to figure out what the hell you're doing wrong with Shayna Baszler right now and fix it. She was one of the most dominant NXT Women's Champions of all time. She got pinned by a dorky superhero. And I think it was a roll-up, too, or something like that. I ain't got no time for that. Sorry, guys. So Monday Night Raw, a little bit better this week. I'll take it. NXT, the go-home show for Great American Bash, so they plugged in a few more matches. We're going to talk all about the Great American Bash coming up later in the show. But, of course, the big thing that came out this week was the non-advertised match between Isaiah Swerve Scott and Bronson Reed for the NXT North American Championship. And, of course, Isaiah Swerve Scott won the North American Championship away from Bronson Reed. The only real thing other than just, Hit Row was awesome, and Isaiah Swerve Scott's killing it right now. But the real reason people are talking about is why he's taking off on this, because he's going to get called up soon. He's been participating in some dark matches up at the main roster. He's been on main event wrestling, so it looks like they're trying to pull him up. So maybe that was why they did like this rush get the belt off him. So maybe we'll see him tonight on Raw. Who knows? But congratulations to Hit Row's Isaiah Swerve Scott, and shout out to Top Dollar for taking that bump through the barricade, man. That shit was out of control. You can find that on my TikTok too, at From the Top Rope. I posted that on the TikTok. Shit was out of control. Loved every second of it. And then we'll switch over to AEW's Dynamite. So crazy Dynamite, right? This was the final Dynamite that would be happening in Daly's Place, so that was a big deal. And Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero Miedo became the number one contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships by beating the AEW Tag Team Champions. I thought that was super good. They're going to be competing next week, which we'll talk about Road Rager here shortly. Also, Jungle Boy hit his 50th win in AEW this week. He's the first person to hit 50 wins. Obviously, he's been hustling down on Dark and Dark Elevation. Good for him. And obviously, the amazing match he had last week for the AEW World Championship against Kenny Omega is not going unnoticed. Jungle Boy is the future of the company. Maybe not for a few years, but at least right now you can look at him and say this dude's going to be the future. And then straight shout out to that MJF and Sammy Guevara match. God damn. They wrestled for a hot minute too. I don't know what the exact runtime was, but they were wrestling for a while. False finish, the false finish, and then finally, obviously, the Pinnacle had to get involved, which brought out the Inner Circle and eventually a chair shot to the head took down Sammy Guevara, and MJF got the pin. 1, 2, 3. They go into next week's match, which we'll talk about here shortly, with all the momentum. Really, really good match. I would definitely call it my match of the week. MJF and Sammy Guevara, really good match. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to NXT UK. They don't always put on the greatest of shows, but this week was actually, I felt, pretty good. Tyler Bate defended his UK Heritage Cup, and obviously he retained it. But I don't know if you guys know anything about the UK Heritage Cup. It was and if you haven't, I'm about to tell you. It's not really necessarily a championship, even though it can be defended like a championship. It's an actual cup, like a Stanley Cup or some shit like that, like a trophy, and they do them in rounds, and then I can't remember exactly who wins. It's kind of confusing because there's rounds, and if you win, the round ends. And I want to say maybe it's best 2 out of 3. Whoever gets to 2 falls first, or 3 falls, excuse me, or 2 falls. It might be 2 falls. I can't remember. Or best 2 out of 3, something like that. It's confusing. I probably get the rules right, but I just know that Tyler Bate won this week. But it's really a fun way, a different thing that's going on down in NXT UK. And also, Bree Priestley, she debuted in a vignette this week. She has a different name, and for some reason I put her name on my notes here, so I don't remember what it is. But yeah, Bree Priestley, formerly in AEW, then she was over in, I think she was doing either New Japan or Stardom. She was in Japan. Obviously Will Ospreay, I think she's either dating Will Ospreay or engaged or something like that, or maybe even married, I'm not sure. But now, yeah, she's over in NXT UK, so good for her for making it over into the air quote big leagues. Hopefully, they'll see some big stuff out of her. And then the main event was Jordan Devlin versus A-Kid, and they shut that fucking house down, man. I know you haven't watched Jordan Devlin versus A-Kid from NXT UK this week, and you should, hands down. The way I'm gonna spoil it for you. So Jordan Devlin wins the match, and the way he bent A-Kid's knee at the end, holy shit! I can't describe it to you. You should go watch it. Check it out on Peacock. Jordan Devlin versus A-Kid, fantastic match. And then finally, SmackDown. Big thing was Kevin Owens beat Sami Zayn in a last man standing match to make it into the Money in the Bank match. 2 things. First off, Kevin Owens beat the goddamn fuck out of Sami Zayn. Check that out on my TikTok too, @FromTheTopRope. But I don't think anyone saw this coming, because I would have put Sami Zayn as a close contender for Money in the Bank, top contender for Money in the Bank, excuse me. And now he's not even in it. Now I don't know how they're gonna bring him back in, but I mean, good for Kevin Owens, because there's also rumor going out that Kevin Owens was going to be taking some time off, and how the hell is he going to take time off? He's going to be in Money in the Bank coming up in a few weeks. So a little confused about what's going on there, but hey, it's exciting stuff. And the match was awesome. Check it out on my TikTok. And of course, like I said, Zelina Vega's back, and she's in the Money in the Bank match, so that's fine. And yeah, Edge basically murdered Jimmy Uso at the end of the show. Beat the shit out of him, and then had him in the crossface with the broken chair, just like he had Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I'm really stoked about Money in the Bank. We'll be talking more about Money in the Bank in the next podcast coming up. But yeah, what a great week. So that was all the wrestling that happened this week. But 2 things. I watched the Vice documentary on China this weekend, and holy shit, y'all. First off, if you haven't watched it, you should go watch it. It's got very much Dark Side of the Ring vibes. Obviously, it's made by Vice, but it's not a Dark Side of the Ring. It's its own thing, and once you watch it, you'll realize why it's its own thing. But just some weird shit going on in China's life, and the fact that WWE just kind of fucked her over. Most people would argue she's the greatest female wrestler that's ever lived. And the way they just did her dirty it's really sad. Really good documentary, though. Really great ways to kind of honor her legacy, too. A lot of demons, man. She had a lot of demons. And she didn't really have the best support system around her. What I found was crazy, she didn't talk to her mom. Her mom, the person who gave birth to her and raised her till 16. At 16, she left to go live with her dad. And she never saw her mom again. Never. There was a planned reunion close to her death, but it never came out. But she never saw her mom again. I mean, whoa, what the fuck? There's these things that I never knew that, and you don't know about people, and you find that shit out. You're like, holy shit, man. Definitely recommend the Vice documentary on China. Give yourself some glass of wine and just sit back and enjoy the ride because it's wild. And then finally, before we go into my announcement and then what's going on this week, I just wanted to talk about Bash in the Beach 1996. The 25th anniversary of that show is happening this week. This week, I think it was on July 7th, I believe, would be 25 years since the Hulk Hogan heel turn, which changed the wrestling landscape forever. For anybody who didn't experience it at the time, obviously, I wasn't watching wrestling in 1996. I didn't start watching wrestling until 1997, and the NWO is what brought me to wrestling. That's what brought me there. The NWO is what brought me, and this was the beginning, the true beginning of the NWO. And 1996, Bash at the Beach, the greatest heel turn that's ever occurred, turns 25 this week. So real quick, before I talk about what's happening this week, I want to make a quick announcement about this podcast and what's going on and the future of this podcast. So a couple things. Get a sip of my nice hazy little thing hazy IPA little thing, Sierra Nevada. So a couple things. So this podcast is usually recorded on a Sunday. I release it on a Sunday, and it's all good. But my wife recently left for Turkey, and man, it has been hard trying to find time. I have 3 kids. 2 of them live here with me, and my other son's in California, and he comes out periodically too. So just a busy guy. So I want to take the opportunity to announce that starting this week, this podcast will release on Friday mornings to get you ready for the weekend, and we'll talk all things wrestling. Typically, I'll record them on a Thursday night and release them on Friday mornings. So no more weekend podcasts if I can avoid it. Mainly because I have more free time on a Thursday night. So starting this week on Thursdays, this podcast will debut on Friday. I'll record on Thursday, whatever. The second thing is I'm getting my wrestling Discord up and running, and our first event that we're going to live chat during is going to be Money in the Bank. More information coming out on from the Top Rope and at I Hate Gerge Brooms. At From the Top Rope Podcast and at I Hate Gerge Brooms on Instagram. Follow me there, and I'll post more about the Discord. So podcast is moving from Sundays to Fridays, and I'm super excited about that. And we're also going to do Wrestling Discord coming up. So let's talk about wrestling this week coming up. We looked at the past, now let's look at the future. Tonight on Raw, we've got the New Day versus Bobby Lashley and MVP. Shout out to Paper Champion 2. That's the Wrestling Fantasy League I'm a part of. I just traded Angel Garza. I finally got rid of him. He's been sitting around. I traded Angel Garza for MVP because MVP silently gets points every week. And I saw that he was in a match, and I've been waiting for about a month for a reason to pull the trigger on MVP, and I felt like this was the moment. So I traded Angel Garza for MVP, and I'm super excited. We also got Ricochet versus John Morrison again for some fucking reason. Got no idea what's going on there. And then some other stuff. Also on NWA Power, Chris Adonis is going to go against Jay the God for the NWA National title. So check that out on Fight TV. And on SmackDown, Cesaro and Seth Rollins again and again and again, but this time it's for a Money in the Bank qualifier match. And Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin again, but this time it's for a Money in the Bank qualifier match. I've got Shinsuke and Cesaro on my fantasy, on my Paper Champions, so I'm hoping that both of them win that one. All right, so we also have 2 themed TV shows coming out this week. First off, we got NXT presents Takeover NXT Great American Bash. So real quick, I just want to run down my predictions and what the matches are. So let's start at the bottom. We got LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes, singles match for the $1 Million Championship. But if Grimes loses, he will become Knight's butler. I believe this is going to LA Knight all day. Sorry, guys. Next up, we have The Way, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell challenging Io Shirai. They're the champions. Io Shirai versus Zoe Stark. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark are challenging The Way, for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. The Way, all the way. They're not done with the belts. I believe there's more of a feud between Io Shirai and Zoe Stark coming up instead of them winning the tag belts together. And then we have MSK, versus MSK, Nash Carter and Wesley versus Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. Timothy Thatcher takes the belts straight up. MSK needs a little bit of recoup, but I think it'll be really good on Tommaso Ciampa and Thatcher. And then, of course, we got Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole in a singles match. Of course, this is going to go 50-50 from their last match at TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Adam Cole beats Kyle O'Reilly. Sorry, guys. That's coming up on Tuesday night on the USA Network. And then we also have AEW presents Dynamite Road Rager this week. And so I'm going to run down that match, or those matches real quick. I'm going to be watching that live. I usually don't watch any wrestling live. I watch it after the fact, but I will be watching Wednesday Night Dynamite live to get that first crowd show. I have to figure out how to do it. I think my TNT app does it, but I got to look at it. All right, so we got Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander versus the Blade and the Bunny. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander all day. That's the only one that makes sense to me. We also have the Pinnacle versus Inner Circle in a 6-on-6 or a 6-man tag, 3-on-3. We got Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, and Wardlow versus Santina Ortiz and Jake Hager. That's coming up, I believe. I think it's the Pinnacle's time to win. Or no, Inner Circle. That's what I'm going to say. Inner Circle's time to win that one. And of course, we have the debut of Andrade El Idolo versus Matt Sydal. No way Andrade does not win that one. Sorry, Matt Sydal. And then, of course, we have the AEW World Tag Team Championship Street Fight. The Young Bucks, the champions, defending against Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero Miedo. That is staying with the Young Bucks. Sorry, guys. Young Bucks all the way with that one. And the match is being hyped up for a long time. Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall, in a South Beach strap match. QT Marshall for the win. Check me out. I'll be doing some live posting on Instagram during the Road Rager on Wednesday night. Can't wait for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a short podcast, a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but it's all good. Don't forget, this Thursday, I will be dropping it on Friday. Friday, you should get From the Top Rope, episode number 38, where we talk to Weekend Wrestling. And it's just interesting. It's a different format because obviously there's SmackDown after and usually a pay-per-view or something. We'll figure it out. I'll figure this out as I go. But Friday mornings, I'll see you guys on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and IGTV. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram at Gerge Brooms. You can follow this podcast at From the Top Rope Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok at From the Top Rope. You can look me up on YouTube at Gerge Brooms. Right, like I said, the Wrestling Discord is coming soon. Keep an eye out on my Instagram for that. And then also you can follow Combat Sports Pro at Combat Sports Pro Wrestling. Our next event is coming up on 21 August, the same night as SummerSlam, and it's going to be awesome. We've got Juice Jennings versus El Cache for the Combat Sports Pro Junior Heavyweight Championship and a Conspiracy Crate match. That shit is going to be out of control. And don't forget, you can follow our sponsors at I Love Bath AF for the best bath bombs in the world, at Twin Hippo Designs for cute stationery items for your small business, and don't forget, look up Move AF on Facebook for that fitness motivation you need. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 37 of From the Top Rope Podcast. I'll see you guys next week, this week, whenever it is, and I appreciate you guys for listening, watching, and however you're doing it. We'll see you later. Ciao.